Yo, what it do, baby? You having a lovely day today. So I was thinking recently, for modern men, there's essentially three approaches to life. The first approach is the lazy approach. It's the stick to nothing. It's do nothing, just do what you're told, basically. There's the second approach, which involves 100% of your effort in one thing. Just 100% grinding at it, neglecting other things, but achieving greatness in this one field. And then there's the third approach. The third approach is, I got this from another YouTuber, The First Man, and he talks about sevens across the board. And it's a concept that resonated with me because me and my friend from back in the day, we always loved the idea of being the Renaissance man. The Renaissance man being the man who does multiple things, who has multiple disciplines, essentially, not bounded by anything. So you can take one of those three approaches. The first approach is the lazy approach. It's the person who doesn't necessarily strive for anything, not really any ambition, mostly just going about life. Might be your service worker, might be just construction worker. No offense, I no offense, but this is the typical male. This is the average male nowadays. Don't really strive for anything, and what it looks like is they could be a great family man and all, but if anything were to happen, or if you take them out of their respective field, they're lost. Or if anything happens to them, then their family's left essentially with nothing or very little. And that's an approach that I personally don't agree with, because although we do need people who are skilled in certain areas. Sorry, I just got a message and that fucking broke my concentration. So you can do that, but you need to have these skills in other areas in order to be a serviceable person, in order to give value back to society. You know, you cannot just be a garbage man. You should be a garbage man plus all these other things. So let me flip onto the opposite side of the spectrum before I get to the middle. So the opposite side of the spectrum is the type of person who goes 100% into something, and they neglect other parts of their life. So it might be like the artist or the musician who is really talented but has no social skills. Nobody really truly wants to be around them. Like, people want to be around them because they chase the clout, they like the lifestyle or whatnot, but you don't truly want to be around the person. You just want to be around what the person brings. So these are like the Michelangelos, the Kanye West, no offense Kanye, but these are like those types where they've gone balls to the wall in one field and they've excelled at that field. There's also failure. People can not excel at things, but they go balls to the wall in that one field. They grind it out. They become masters in that field. But the problem with that is, like I said, other parts of life get neglected. So they may not have a good relationship with their family. They may not have the good social skills. They're just not a pleasant person to be around. And many other things. They might not even have the simple basic skills to do other stuff. Like, I don't know. Person is a really great musician, but can't cook for himself. So eventually, let's say the money dries up. Now he has to learn how to cook for himself because he can't hire a dietitian. He can't hire a personal chef anymore. That's that approach. And now, in my opinion, here's the best approach to life. As a man, woman, whoever you are, it's the sevens across the board. It is to gain a good understanding of a topic and then to move on to the next one. You have to have multiple disciplines in which you can at least have a fluent conversation about it. You get to a 7 in that field. So what it looks like is, so there's two guitarists. One of the guitarists is the number 2 approach, where he just balls to the wall, 10 years, becomes the next Van Halen, whatnot. Then there's the other guy, the number 2, I mean the number 3 approach, in which he practices for like about a year and he gets good at guitar, but then he moves on to the next instrument. Or not even the next instrument, he moves on to the next thing. He goes on to he's a 7 in finances, where he knows a good amount, but he's not like some economist. He knows enough to treat his money well and to take care of himself, but he is not someone who is gonna look at the economy and predict exactly where it goes and whatnot, blah blah blah. So I think the 7s across the board approach is the best approach, because you become a well-rounded human being. You become a balanced man, where you can, in a variety of situations, you can add value, you could provide value, you can bring something to the table. Because let's say you are a godly musician. I'm not cracking on musicians, this is just for lack of a better example. Let's say you're a genius level musician, and now you're in a room filled with lawyers and doctors. You can't necessarily bring something to, you could bring something different, but you can't really add value to their conversation because they're talking about either doctor or lawyer stuff. You understand what I'm saying? So you must take this balanced approach to life. Getting a 7 here, getting a 7 in finances, getting a 7 in looks, getting a 7 in body, getting a 7 in essentially everything. And it doesn't have to just be get to a 7 and then get rid, like go on to the next thing. What I'm basically saying is you have to have that fundamental knowledge in almost everything and keep moving on, because life is a continuous process. There is no end goal. There's no end game. It's a continuous process till the day you die. Life is a continuous process. Something new could be thrown at you. You could be placed in a new situation. A new dynamic may emerge that you've never encountered before. There's all these things that happen. So why I push the 7 system along with First Man is because when you have 7s across the board, why is this guy trying to pass me? We're in a 1-lane road. If you have 7s across the board, then you have adequate knowledge to relate to pretty much anybody and add value to anything. And also, you could look at it like this. If you have a specific field that you want to grind in, let's say you're 7s in multiple areas, but this is the one where you want to get to a 9 or 10. Because you have the knowledge from the other disciplines, you have all these 7s in your mind, then you can get a new perspective in whatever field you're in. So let's say you're really good at coding, right? You're really good at coding. Let's say you're about an 8 in this, and you start to want to make music. Now, this is just something I've made up in my head, but let's say because you're so good at coding, and you're so good at recognizing patterns, and you're so good at creating patterns, and you're so good at just recognizing these mathematical formulas, that when you start making music, you see the mathematics in the music. So you start to make mathematically sound music, if you get what I'm saying. Like, you get the rhythm on point, you get the tempo on point, you get everything, because your brain consciously, actually subconsciously, is making the connection. It's making the connection from coding to music. And it doesn't have to be just that. It could be linguistics, Let's say you're a 7 across the board in linguistics. Your native language is English, but you know 1 or 2 other languages. You can use that to help you. Let's say you wanted to make poetry, or you wanted to write a story. Now that you have the knowledge of another language, you can use some of their idioms. You can use some of their phrases. You know what you can also do? You can talk to a person from that language, or who speaks that language, gain perspective of their culture, and then add that to your story, making it more well-rounded, rather than just having a simple dynamic in the story. Now you've added all these other facets to the story, which makes it even better. You understand what I'm saying? This is why I personally think in life, when you see that fork in the road of which approach should I take, immediately disregard the lazy route. Now you have 2 routes. You can go balls to the wall in one. I recommend that if you are exceptionally good at something, you might as well make yourself a genius at that, or make yourself a great at that, because you already have proven your exceptional skill in that. So if you bolster that, and if you become even more like great at that certain field, then boom, you've set yourself up for success. Because after you succeed in that, you can go to the 7s across the board system. You can, because you've now excelled in one, you can go to others, frees up your time. And then there's the other approach of the 7s across the board, just starting with 7s everywhere. That's, in my opinion, the best approach. The best approach. Just balances out the psyche, in my opinion, as well. Because I look at it like this as well. If you are really hard focused on one thing, your brain, since it's binary, becomes really focused on that. So you're kind of limiting yourself in one area. If you're not learning all these new things and learning about different things, then you're essentially reducing your dynamism, and you're becoming more, for lack of a better word, predictable. You're becoming stagnant, and that's, in my opinion, not a good thing. But we all have different opinions about that. Anyways, my people, it's about that time.